from the Message Bible, Psalm 131. God, I'm not trying to rule the roost. I don't want to be king of the mountain. I haven't meddled where I have no business or fantasised grandiose plans. I've kept my feet on the ground. I've cultivated a quiet heart, like a baby content in its mother's arms. My soul is a baby content. Wait, Israel, for God. Wait with hope. Hope now. Hope always. This is the word of the Lord.
Good morning, everyone. Good to see you. We've got special visitors with us this morning, Jeff and Linda Emerson. Jeff and I go back just a few years. You're suggesting maybe 50, or might be a few more than that, when we were at college together. Jeff is a Baptist pastor, retired, travelling around, saying hello to different people at different times. Entrance, yeah, and they've been up at Wendouree recently, which where I was for a few years. Good to have you, and make sure you make them welcome. Good to see everyone this morning. We look forward to a time of fellowship, particularly with people from River Valley Church in a little while. I've just noticed it's 25 to 11. I've got about 3/4 of an hour to preach. That's fantastic. Dangerous. From Spoilt, Brat to godly maturity is what I've entitled today's message. And I've been doing of recent times a few messages around the Psalms, but particularly looking at the shorter Psalms. This is one of the shorter Psalms. I'm not quite sure it's the third or fourth. It's only just 3 verses in it, but it says a lot. As a child, you are the centre of the universe. The world revolves around you. Your needs are paramount. If those needs are not met, then everyone knows about it. I was walking down the street at Yarra Junction just this week, and there were 2 mums. One had a child strapped onto the front of her, and another one, about 2 or 3, running around all over the place. They would buy the little car there in front of the newsagents, and Mum was pulling her hair out. Kid having a ball, and then there's another mum who was a friend of hers, and she had a child in her arms, and another one about the same age running around as well. Oblivious to the needs of anyone else, they were paramount. You know, I was just thinking of Brigitta when she was a young mum, and we had 4 children under 5 years of age, which took a bit of handling. She was a pastor's wife as well, so she did pretty well. A little girl was in church with her mother when she started feeling ill. "Mummy," she said, "can we leave now?" "No," her mother replied. "Well, I think I'm going to throw up." And go out the front door and around to the back of the church and throw up outside in the grass. And so the little girl went off, and about 60 seconds later she came running back, returned to her seat, and her mum said, "Were you sick?" And she said, "Yes." How could you have been sick, got up the back of the church so quickly?" And she said, "Oh, it was all right, Mum. At the front door of the church they had a box there that said 'for the sick.'" This is a song of humility by King David, about King David. And it's 3 steps to godly maturity. If we reverse it, put it upside down, the first one says, God, I'm not trying to rule the roost. I don't want to be king of the mountain. I haven't meddled where I have no business or fantasized grandiose plans. The second step is contentment. I've kept my feet on the ground. I've cultivated a quiet heart, like a baby content in its mother's arms. My soul is a baby content. And then the third step, the third verse, is about confidence. Wait, Israel, for God. Wait with hope. Hope now, hope always. It's a song which was sung, they think, by the Israelites as they returned from Babylon back to Israel. And the first verse, humiliation, the picture, the idea of all the young princes, or the young men of Israel being taken in captivity off to Babylon. Learning to live in another country as servants. The second verse, contentment, learning to relax and make the best of life as foreign citizens. Daniel and his friends, Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego, living in a foreign country, learning to live their systems and their ideas, and yet learning to maintain their own faith and their own walk with God. And then finally, the picture of them coming back from being 70 years in exile, coming back to their homeland, to Israel. Wait, Israel, for God. Wait with hope. Hope now, hope always. I'm just going to take the verses through individually and think a little bit about each of them. I do not concern myself with great matters or things too wonderful for me. Humility comes to terms with who we are. Brigitte's just so good when it comes to quizzes. She'll sit there and I have the TV on and the quiz show, and they'll have the question, and Brigitte will be, no sooner the question's there than she'll have the answer. I'm still thinking about the question and trying to work out what the question is all about. When I come to trivia nights with Gordon and his crew, we're sitting there, and again the same issue. Gordon comes up with all of his questions, and the only thing I'm reasonably good at is sport, but anything else I'm nowheresville. I don't have all the answers. I can't figure everything out. I can't explain everything. You know what? That's okay. Job was struggling in the book of Job, written in the Old Testament, coming to terms with the issues. He'd lost his family, he'd lost his farm, he'd lost all of his goods and his produce and his animals, and sitting on a dung heap, sitting down trying to work out, God, what are you doing to me? How come life is like this? His friends talk with him and make suggestions, and it must have been over some period of time. They were talking about things over days, and finally he's on his own, and he looks up into the sky and he says, God, how come this has all happened? How come you've failed me? And God comes back with the answer to him. Did you put the world in place? Did you create the stars, Job? Did you create the boundaries of the sea and make Australia the shape that it's in? Job, listening to God's response to him, said, God, surely I don't know what I'm talking about. These things are too wonderful for me to understand. I do not concern myself with great matters or things too wonderful for me. There's a sense in which we don't understand the world around us. We're to embrace our limitations, is what David is saying. Life isn't going to go exactly the way we would like it to go or the way we'd plan it to go. Yeah, my memory's not so good these days. It never has been very good. And this week, David's not here this morning, is he? But this week we had on Thursday night carpet bowls. Well, we were supposed to have carpet bowls. We announced it last week in the newsletter and so on. I'd had a busy day. We had a Benrid celebration, lunchtime on Thursday and so on. And Brigitte said, well, let's go and see Melissa. Melissa's moved out of home, and we went and visited her and had tea with her, and coming back about 8:30 at night, and pulled up, and of course David lives on the same property as we are, and there was David coming with a pizza box. And I said, oh David, you've been out and had pizza, have you? Mumble, mumble. We had carpet bowls. Oh no! Carpet bowls. Dave wasn't talking to me for 12 hours or so, 24 hours. But we had tea together last night, so that was all good. Yeah, you've just got to laugh, don't you? My memory's not been much, but it's gone to pieces of recent days. So I think the key thing is just to recognise and joke about it, and that stupid old, funny old Ray McDonald, you know, it's the way we are, it's the way the life is at times. And accept ourselves, I guess, is what the psalmist is saying. I do not concern myself with great matters or things too wonderful for me. Just accept life, accept who you are, accept the way God has made you and is making you. Verse 2 says this, and it's contentment is what it has the idea of, the psalm has the idea of contentment. I'm no longer angry with the world, but at peace. In knowing God, that's what happens in our lives. We've moved from being, I'm the only one in the universe as a little child, or a brat, or a person who feels wronged by the world. We see ourselves as being the centre of the world, and the world isn't making life as it should be for us as a person. It's not meeting my plans, not the way it is. You're not even 1 in a million, my friend. I'm not 1 in a million. Do you know that there are 8.2 billion people in God's world today? But if you learnt this lesson, it's a lesson that Paul tells us. You know what Paul says? God thought of you before the creation of the world. In love, God predestined you to be adopted as his son and daughter through Jesus, because you are his pleasure and in his will. God thought of you before time began. There is not a moment in your life that he is not aware of or conscious of. I have stilled and quieted my soul, David the psalmist says, like a weaned child with its mother, like a weaned child in my soul within me. Those who are mums will understand this verse better than most of us who are not. Weaning is a process. It could be long and exhausting and painful and distressful for both the child and for the mother. It can be a bit of a battle going through that process. It can be, for the child, no sense of comfort, fretting, even rage, sulking. Learning to sit at the table, family table, and eat a meal. No longer, the psalmist says, no longer being angry with his mother, but enjoying his independence. He loves to sit in her lap and have a cuddle, and mum enjoys it just as much. She's no longer seen as a milk machine. David's psalm uses this as an illustration of our relationship with God. David, in writing the psalm, no longer sees God as his milk machine. God's not there to meet all of my needs. If I'm in trouble and he does not meet my expectations, God hasn't failed me. God wants and encourages us to grow up as individuals, as people. I want you to want me for myself, not what I can do for you. God wants to have a one-to-one relationship of regard for each other. You know, the time to wean a child is decided by the mother. The child may not like the experience, but it's ultimately for his best. And I imagine there's a sense in which she looks forward to that time for personal freedom for her and personal freedom for the child. But it's always for the benefit of the child ultimately. The child doesn't understand that. God, at some point in your walk with him, will stop mollycoddling you and leave you to stand, you might feel, on your own, but he's always there for you and looking after you. The tough times in your life are the times when you actually grow the most as an individual, as a person. Just to illustrate it, Jesus going out to the desert following his baptism. Nothing to eat, 40 days out there, and Satan attacks him. A tough time. God, why are you letting me go through this? King David, who wrote this psalm, abandoned by everyone and forced to live in a foreign country. And surely David, in that experience, said, God, what's all this about? You anointed me as king over Israel. Samuel came to my home and said that I was going to be king. For 17 long years, David had to wait before he was anointed as king. It's interesting that the desert became to Jesus a place where he met God, his Father, in a new and a wonderful way. And you'll notice as you read the Gospels that Jesus kept going back to the desert, back to the arid country where there was not a thing living, because there he so often felt able to contact and to relate to his Father. You see, the hard place, the isolated place, the dry and hot place is where we so often need and receive refreshment and renewal in our lives. Do you have those times in your quiet time with God, out in the desert, just enjoying being who you are, relaxing in your Heavenly Father's presence, comfortable, warm, cared for, anxious for nothing? This is David's experience of God that he wants you to share. Of course, being human, and even as an adult, we have those moments when we have a tizzy. And I actually had Brigitta's permission, kind of, I think, to tell this story. This is a notorious occasion in our household. If you ask any of the girls about this, and they'll remember this. Brigitta standing in the kitchen with a tiled floor, and apparently when I asked if I could talk to say this today, she said the reason was that she had called us a number of times for tea and we hadn't come. None of us had come. We kept on doing what we were doing. But this tiled floor in the kitchen, and she pulled out a plate from the cupboard and bang on the floor. Boom! And everything everywhere. Mouths wide open. Another plate. Bang! On the floor. What? We couldn't believe it. And another plate. It just continued, you know. We kind of got the point. It was very effective. There are those moments in our lives, aren't there, when we lose it. And that's part of life, I guess. But we're learning. I guess that's an indication that we're a work in progress. David, in this psalm, in verse 3, says this: O Israel, put your hope in the Lord, both now and forevermore. It's talking about confidence. David now thinks of his people rather than himself. The focus is no longer on him in the psalm. He loses himself in the care and regard that he has for other people. David prizes hope, things not seen and yet to come, an eternal hope. And he encourages us as his readers to think not of ourselves, but to think of what God has in store for others. Things no longer control him. Things are not everything in his life. David encourages others to the same hope, the hope of eternity, now and forever. Spurgeon, in writing on this psalm, said this: when we cease hankering for the world, we begin hoping in the Lord. O Lord, as a parent weans a child, so do thou wean me, and then shall I fix all my hope on thee alone. Following God is a step-by-step process to be learned through life's experience. And I guess that's what I want to say to you this morning. And the first step is humiliation. God, I'm not trying to rule the roost. I don't want to be king of the mountain. I haven't meddled where I have no business or fantasized grandiose plans. And step 2 is contentment. I've kept my feet on the ground. I've cultivated a quiet heart. Like a baby content in its mother's arms, my soul is a baby content. And step 3, O Israel, put your hope in the Lord both now and forevermore. You know, it takes time to work through these processes. These are steps in a life's journey. Step 1, humiliation. It's a process, it's a journey. Some of us are still working at it. Sometimes we do want to be king of the mountain. Some of us find it hard not to meddle in other people's businesses. Some of us are in fantasy land, imagining that we can build empires or save the world. You see, that big I, keeps popping up in my life all the time. I have a question for you this morning. Will you make allowances for me? I'm still working on this humble gig. You and I were there once. We might have moved on and this is no longer an issue for you. But we were there once. Someone put up with us and our idiosyncrasies and the strange things that we did and thought and said. Will you put up with the idiosyncrasies and difficulties of people who are going through that process in their lives? It takes time. These are steps. Contentment, which is step number 2. It's a process. It's a journey. I've kept my feet on the ground. I've cultivated a quiet heart. Like a baby content in its mother's arms, my soul is a baby content. Some of us are still working on being satisfied with our lot in life, aren't they? Most of the time, I'm level-headed. I enjoy my daily times with God. I know He loves me and I think He is great. But there are days when I lapse. I become miserable and bitchy. I can't give anyone the time of day. But I do know that God still loves me. I have a question for you. Will you love me too? Step 3, confidence. Wait, Israel, for God. Wait with hope. Hope now, hope always. It takes time. This is the final step in the psalm. It's a process. It's a journey. There are some days I believe my hope is effervescent. It just keeps bubbling up and I trust God with everything that I have. And I know that He's just going to bring good things into my life and it's going to help me make this into a brand new world. But then there are days when the world looks black and dark and full of storms and the clouds just keep rolling in. My faith wavers and I start looking down. My head and my Bible tell me that my God will save me and my family. But I've a question for you. Will you hold my hand and will you pray with me and for me? God bless you.